Hello! Today we are looking at building a base mesh, stylized male base mesh with Zbrush. So this is my method my modern method, my technique that I use whenever I create a new character. I will always start with a base mesh. You don't have to. You could get someone else's base mesh. You can have an old base mesh. You can have a basic one that you find or have. But I like to start from scratch whenever I build a new character. It helps me re-practice my anatomy, keeps me tip-top shape, and always kind of keeping my anatomy studies fresh and clean. And I can kind of always revisit where I'm weak and try to strengthen that up. And so these are a great exercise to do, even if you're not creating a character, just for practicing. You just do an anatomy sculpt, do a whole character, do a whole base mesh. Base mesh is basically just a character without clothes on, so a naked character that you can then put clothes on. That's what makes it a base mesh. You can build your armor and clothes on after the fact, but this is just the beginning where we build out the structure from scratch. Here, as you can see, I'm using Zbrush, and I'm using primitives to start out all my shapes, blocking out pretty much every shape as either a sphere or a cylinder. And I choose whatever's more cylindrical, I'll use a cylinder. So a thigh is a cylinder, a kneecap would be, a knee structure would be a sphere. So it's a cylinder and a sphere. The head is a sphere, the neck, a cylinder. And so I basically use those two shapes for the entire body. You can see here, I'm kind of just feeling it out. And in the beginning, I like to kind of not use any reference. I kind of like to just see where my understanding is at, so I won't use any reference in the beginning. I'll just kind of feel it out and try to remember, try to see how far my anatomy understanding goes uh, without anything to back it up. And that'll kind of also make me realize, like, oh, okay, I'm actually don't know how a forearm works. Oh, I don't know how the back of the thigh works as well as I thought, or definitely the back of the back. The human back is quite always complex, isn't it? It's all complex, but this is a good practice to just kind of revisit your weak spots. And then when I get to a good stopping point, when I don't really know where to take it any further, I'll move on to another part, and that's how I'll kind of dance around the entire character. Uh, if once I feel like I've muddled enough in that area, I'll move on to something else. And then once I feel that way for the entire character, I will start to pull out reference and try to just have like a better sculpt, a better understand, and learn, and definitely and be able to target the areas that I felt weakest in. Um, for this character in particular, I had some cool references. I looked at George Bridgman, which is always good for learning anatomy, but maybe he's not as useful. I've come to that realization for working on this character that maybe Bridgman is not the most helpful when you want to know a clean form. So for working on stylized stuff, Bridgman's a little too dirty, a little too messy, but it is great for just understanding the human machine and how the origin and the insertion and the origin of the muscles. If you're like early on understanding anatomy, Bridgman's great, but he's not going to give you the final look that you want. You're going to want to look at actual human reference, lifelike stuff with skin on it, or if you're working on a stylized thing. In this case, you could look at other stylized games, movies. In this case, I used David Finch's new book that I got acquired, one of my favorite comic artists. I wasn't ever really a big comic fan, but came in contact with David Finch's work, and his stuff is amazing. So I kind of study that a lot for just a great reference for hyper detailed but still simplified So I got his new book from his Monday Night Draw series that he released, and I bought that on eBay, and I was excited to use it whenever I can. And it's got great reference for, you know, strong, hyper detailed, clean, stylized superheroes. So that's kind of what I use as a lot of inspiration for this character. For this character, I did not really have a concept I was working towards, which would really help, especially if you're working in 3D, especially if you're working on 3D. You're kind of new to working on 3D first couple years. It definitely helps to have a concept, definitely helps to have some sort of reference to work towards if you don't have a big library in your mind already of like what structures are supposed to look like. But in this case, I am kind of pulling together a lot of different things to try to discover what I want the character to kind of feel like. I want him to be stylized. I want him kind of like in the direction of like a little Fortnite-y, which is like strong forms, strong simplified forms with strong sharp edges defining different plane breaks. You can see here on the hand, I'm kind of really, I think I did a good job simplifying the fingers on this character in this case. Uh, really kind of just simplifying them down to their basic structure where it still reads well, but it's not too noisy. So this is more of like a gamey character, a gamey feel that I'm going for. And that's why I took a lot of reference from David Finch, because he's got very high detailed stuff, but it's still comic booky, fun, simplified, but like loaded. It's built in such a way that he just puts so much detail that it looks cool. So I'm kind of going for like higher detail but still simplified. So, and you can see here I'm kind of revisiting every other part of the body again that I keep going in circles because it's never perfect, it's never complete. Till at some point it is, I guess. Till at some point it's good enough. That's why I like to start over from scratch every time I'm making a character. I bite the bullet. I you know I sit down and I'm gonna do it, and I enjoy this process a lot, even though it takes like this. And this piece was probably 10 to 12 hours, and probably could have been done quicker, but I was enjoying it and kind of feeling out the process and kind of trying to find what I wanted. What was my end goal? I didn't really have it so clear in the beginning, so this was like a discovery phase. And I like to start from scratch my base mesh so I can kind of understand, because like, you always could do better. So that's how I treat each new base mesh. It's like, okay, let's make it better than the last. Let's make it better than the last. And honestly, every time I make a new base mesh, it is better than my last. So highly recommend doing that. Repetition, practice, that's key. And that'll give you confidence to just doing quick sculpts or long sculpts in this case. This is going to be a character for a longer series that I'll be working on. This is a time lapse, and I don't expect someone to go brush for brush, and it's pretty tedious working on a base mesh. And you get the idea with the speeded up time lapse. I recommend following along, doing your own, looking at your own reference for your own character, um, instead of just like trying to copy every stroke that I do, so that you kind of just get the point from the time-lapse video. But the idea is that I'm going to make this character into a full knight, uh, veteran knight, stylized Roman facial features, and that'll be a longer series where I kind of build out the armor, and I'll show you more step by step on how I do that. But this case, this is just kind of like straightforward. I'll let people use this base mesh when the time comes, or they can have their own, or they could pull one from another place to follow along with how I build the armor in the coming series. But yeah, so I'll let it play out, and it'll go by fast here, and you can skip around as you like. play a little music to make it seem a little nicer too, but and then in the end you'll see how I achieved my stylized night base mesh mail. Thanks for watching.
Money don't mean a thing to him, baby, he's lost inside his head. The fame wouldn't fix a thing, it only make him harder to understand. And deep down all he probably wants is to be understood. But he's afraid that if they look they won't find anything good. Money don't mean a thing to him, baby, he's lost inside his head. And fame wouldn't fix a thing, it only make him harder to understand. And deep down all he probably wants is to be understood. But he's afraid that if they look they won't find anything good. Big old man, caved in head, made his friends pay for it, prayed for death, raided the shelf, tried to become someone else. He wasn't well, we aren't well. Something spread, some kind of hell, hard to reach out, deep in that shell, lost in your head, no one to tell. Money don't mean a thing to him, baby, he's lost inside his head. And fame wouldn't fix a thing, it only make him harder to understand. And deep down all he probably wants is to be understood. But he's afraid that if they look they won't find anything good. Money don't mean a thing to him, baby, he's lost inside his head. And fame wouldn't fix a thing, it only make him harder to understand. And deep down all he probably wants is to be understood. But he's afraid that if they look they won't find anything good. Make me quit, make me live, make me give all of it, trust and raps, prayers and tears, point and laugh, all my years, fool for God, take my will, let it die, heart be still, make me your shape, conform, you're my all, save me God. Money don't mean a thing to him, baby, he's lost inside his head. And fame wouldn't fix a thing, it only make him harder to understand. And deep down all he probably wants is to be understood. But he's afraid that if they look they won't find anything good. Money don't mean a thing to him, baby, he's lost inside his head. And fame wouldn't fix a thing, it only make him harder to understand. And deep down all he probably wants is to be understood. But he's afraid that if they look they won't find anything good. It's always something to do, ain't it? You always make it about yourself. You're always going through some catastrophe. You're always on your way out of hell. I pray don't go away. I pray you change. I pray you learn how to pray. I pray don't go away. I pray you change. I pray you learn how to pray. Ooh, say to your amigo. Ooh, you're the king of broken dreams. Ooh, no safe from your aggression. Ooh, no one's ever what they see. Somebody always takes the blame. Somebody else. Somebody always takes the blame. Somebody else. Somebody always takes the blame. Somebody else. Somebody always takes the blame. Somebody else.